This tutorial will demonstrate how to define a model. Dynamic model is an object-oriented programming method. To define a model is to define the class of the model, which is used to describe the attributes, behaviors and sub-nodes of a model. In the dynamic model, objects, classes, behaviors, etc. are represented by models, so the classes of models are also models. In this tutorial, we will define a class person, and then use it to create a concrete object instance Johnson. Models need a name. In the dynamic model, the object is dynamic, and the class and behavior of the object can be modified at any time, and the class model can also be modified at any time. After the class model is modified, the corresponding object instance will also change at any time. Therefore, we can use it to create an object instance when person is not fully defined. Currently, this tutorial has used person to create an object instance Johnson. Since person has not yet defined attributes, it can be seen that the attributes of Johnson are empty. Now we switch to the person model to define the attributes of person. Please click the Add Child Node button to enter the Add Child Node interface. Please select an attribute node. Set the name of the property. Please click the Add button to add a name attribute child node. Now you can see that the name attribute child node has been added to the person model, which also defines the name attribute for the class person. Click the Next button to go to the model Johnson. We will find that Johnson also has a name attribute at this time. At this point we can see that Johnson already has a name attribute. In the same way, we can define more properties for person. It can be seen that Johnson now has more attributes, and some attributes also have their own editing methods, such as selecting dates and drop-down boxes. For the editing method of attributes, you can refer to other tutorials. Click the Next button to define the behavior for person. Now we switch to the person model to define the behavior of person. Please click the Add Child Node button to enter the Add Child Node interface. Please select an action node. Please click the Add button to add an action child node. The Actions node is used to define the behavior of the model, and its child nodes are specific behaviors. Note that only the first action sub-node is the definition node of the action behavior. If there are multiple action sub-nodes, the others are not behavior definition nodes. Click the Next button to assign us to add a SayHello method. Now we switch to the person model to define the behavior of person. Please click the Add Child Node button to enter the Add Child Node interface. Actions can be run in the dynamic model, which is equivalent to functions and methods. We can use the action class model to define the behavior of the model. There are many action models in XWorker. Here we use the Groovy Action model. Please select Groovy Action under Group 下划线 Actions code. The name of the action is also the name of the model behavior. Here we set it to SayHello. Groovy code can be written directly in the Groovy model. Please click the Add button to add the SayHello action child node. Now we define a SayHello method for person. Click the next button to switch to the Zhongsan model and use the Zhongsan model to execute the Say Hello method. Please select Say Hello in the Action Drop Down list, and then click the Drop Down menu on the right. Any method can be executed. If the execution is normal, you should see Zhongsan Say Hello World in the console. In the dynamic model, each model node is an independent object, so the sub-model is also an independent object. The method of defining the sub-model of person is the same as defining person. Assuming that person can have child, let's define the child sub-model. Please select a thing node. Here we set the name of the child model to be child. Since child is also person, for example, Zhongsan's son Xiaoming is also a person, child can inherit person, so that child has the attributes and behaviors of person. Please click the Add button to add child nodes. After person defines the child submodel, Zhongsan can add child. Here we demonstrate adding Zhongsan's child Xiaoming. Please click the Add Child Node button to proceed to the next step. Child model is defined by person. Please select Child Model. Here we set the name of child as Xiaoming, and we can also find that child inherits all the attributes of person. Please click the Add button to add Xiaoming child node. This ends the tutorial here. To sum it up briefly, the dynamic model is object-oriented. To define a model is to define the class of the object. The class model is used to define attributes, behaviors, and sub-models. Objects, classes, behaviors, etc. are all models, and the method of editing each model is the same.